part of cross-country season. So an exciting Danner Championship race to get underway here momentarily. Top team, watch for Franklin, local team here in Oregon. Look over at the race official. And the boys Danner Championship underway here at Clackamas Community College. Again, top team we already talked about. Franklin out of Oregon was third last year in this Danner Championship race, hoping to see if they can come out on the team title end this year. But they'll be challenged by a couple of Colorado schools in Cherry Creek, Valor Christian, and then making the trip down south from Washington, Central Kitsap, who was 12th last year in the Danner Championships, and then making the trip up north from Granada Hills in California. They were 19th last year in this championship field. So the team race is really up for grabs this year. Even though Franklin is one of the favorites to win this race, it boiled down to how this really unfolds this final mile. We'll get a better idea as the race goes along. But from the individual perspective, it's as deep as it's been in the last couple of years. And we can see our early leader, Daniel Harushka, out of Cherry Creek, has a lifetime best of 14:49. Was 6th overall at the Colorado 5A State Championships, although in his most recent effort at the Liberty Bell Invitational finished 8th overall. So hoping for a bounce-back effort in this race, and was 25th when he was here in 2021 in the Danner Championship race. So time-wise, he's our top athlete, but really an athlete to keep an eye out for, and you can see him in the right hand wearing the green jersey with the wings sticking out is Asher Danielson of Ida B. Wells here in Oregon. Coming off a career best run at the MOOC Invitational, the first year that invite's been held by host Jesuit. Ran 14:51 just to finish second behind Mercer Island's Owen Powell, who ran 14:46. So a really quick time and a really fast course, similar, not quite, actually I shouldn't say similar to this race, but this is grass. That course was ran on a golf course. But going back to Danielson, was career best race at the MOOC Invite, was 16th last year at the Oregon 6A State Championships, and 57th at NXR Northwest. So along with the Northwest best, he'll definitely be in the mix to see if he can try to qualify for Nike Cross Nationals this year. And just right next to Daniel Harushka of Cherry Creek is Caden Dendorfer of Valor Christian. Finished ahead of Harushka that same Liberty Bell Invitational, placed 5th overall in 15:02.7. 9th overall at the Colorado 5A State Championships, and was 60th at NXR Southwest last fall. So Harushka, Dendorfer, Danielson. You can also see Jack Meyer out of West Salem into the mix. That top portion of that race. Just right behind them, wearing the Summit uniform, is Noah Loughlin Hall. Just from the high school east of Portland, southeast, I should actually say, in Bend, Oregon. Lifetime best 15:17.2. We're actually see a pair of Summit teammates together, so one of them we know for sure is Noah Loughlin Hall, and we'll get a better idea who his teammate is as this race progresses. The tone has been set early on, as Hrushka was able to get out really quick in that first stretch. We now see Jack Meyer taking over into the lead. Been an interesting start for Jack Meyer in 2023. Big expectations after what was a really impressive junior campaign. Saw a really solid effort down at Woodbridge where he finished 14th overall in 14:12.2. But then last week at Bob Furman struggled quite a bit and finished 10th overall at Eagle Island State Park and only ran 15:30, just finishing 35 seconds behind our first place finisher. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounced back as well in this race as we've gone through the first mile, 4:40. So a hot pace here in the early portion of this race. And excuse me, that was actually Dane Ike from Valor Christian going through that first mile. So that wasn't Caden Denderfer. Dane Ike, just a sophomore. Or excuse me, Dane Ike, a senior. Get my athletes confused up here. My apologies to that. So in the early team standings, we see Franklin out front, 108, and Central Catholic nearby Portland, 167, and Valor Christian of Colorado, 176 in third. So 6 boys all within a second of each other, as you heard from our PA announcer. As it's Meyer, Ike, Danielson, Hrushka, then Resnick of South Albany into that mix as well. And Noah Lachlan Hall in 6th. So we have a predominantly quick first 6 athletes well out front here through that first mile as the rest of the field starts to chase them down. Dane Ike's also had an interesting start to his season as he's out front. He's led the first mile in 4:40.6. Was 10th last year at NXR Southwest. So again, big high expectations coming into this season. Although, like I said, rocky start to the year. Finished 17th at the Liberty Bell Cross Country Invitational. Ran 15:22.6, which perhaps could be a good start for him. But then that following week, ran 16:03 at the St. Baron Cross Country course, which again could also be a difficult race and could be a good time on that course. But nonetheless, we're seeing a solid effort so far from Dane Ike in the early part of this race, as he's being challenged by Jack Meyer and Asher Danielson from here in Oregon. The sun starts to peek out here. Perfect racing conditions on the final day of September before getting into the heart of the cross-country season. A lot of these athletes are preparing for a big week next week up in Arlington, Washington for the Nike Hole-in-the-Wall Cross-Country Invitational, which will have on-demand coverage of that. Myself will be up there delivering interviews and bring you all the coverage, like I said, to our DieStat team. And athletes such as Jack Meyer will be up there at Nike Hole-in-the-Wall, one of the fastest races in the Pacific Northwest. In my opinion, probably the fastest race in the Pacific Northwest based on the times that have been produced over the years. Course record belonged to Tyrone Gorsey. I believe it's at 14:48 or 14:49, which he ran, I believe, a couple years ago at the Pacific Northwest Showcase. So 5 runners still together. The 6th has dropped back. So we're coming up onto the second chip reading. We have Dane Ike, Asher Danielson, Jack Meyer. Nice wing formation right there. Excuse me, V formation. As they go over the mat again for one last loop. 9:43 for that 2-mile mark for Dane Ike. Ike, Danielson, Meyer, Logden, Hall, then Resnick of South Albany, and then Cade Brownell out of Mount Spokane. One of the top athletes in the entire state of Washington, had himself a remarkable sophomore campaign alongside his teammate Parker Westerman, really trying to make a household name for themselves in Washington. As you can see, Parker now in the bottom screen, making his way on to the 3rd lap. But going back to Cade Brownell, ran a lifetime best at the Mountain West Invitational last week to finish 2nd to Bozeman's Nathan Neal. Ran 15:30 there and was 14th last fall at the Washington State 3A State Championship. So it's a rising star in the making for head coach Scott Dartha and the Mount Spokane Wildcats. As now the pace is really ramping up here on this final lap. And you can see it with Dane Ike really pushing the pace here. But give credit to all 5 of them holding on to one another. See how it all unfolds over this final stretch. Between 1st and 4th, separated by just 1 second. Right on the dot, too. And Matthew Resnick of South Albany came through that chip reading just 3 seconds behind Noah Logden Hall of Summit. But now we're starting to see even more separation from our top 2 in Ike and Meyer. Meyer last year was 17th in the Danner Championship race. Ran 15:15.6. And is really primed for a breakout race heading into Hole in the Wall week next weekend. So a statement here at Nike Portland XE could play in favor going up to Lakewood next week. So far, we're seeing Dane Ike also having a statement type of races this year. Talked about he hasn't won a race this year. He's struggled early on. But perhaps this is the race that his coach told him to get after it. And those 2 other ones were more of tempo efforts. Really prepare for the type of race that Nike Portland XD has to offer. Give credit to Asher Danielson too. Lots of momentum coming from that Mook Invitational last week when he ran 14:51, still in the mix in that 3rd position right now. As we see Ike and Meyer start to pull away, perhaps we do have a top 2 runners, and now Meyer's into the lead for the first time. So a bold move right here with less than 800 meters to go for Jack Meyer. Now we're starting to see Dane Ike struggle here as Asher Danielson starts to chase him down into 2nd. We'll see if Jack Meyer is able to hold on to this lead over the final stretches. We have 3 runners still in the picture for that top spot to be claimed champion at Nike Portland XC is Danielson, now into second, just right behind Meyer. Danielson sporting the shades here. And around this corner, Danielson looking to get into the lead. But Jack Meyer tried to hold him off. 2 more turns here until the home straightaway. A battle between West Salem and Ida B. Wells. 2 Oregon schools going back and forth with one another. And up the uphill stretch, here we go. One last push for Meyer and Danielson. And Danielson really going to the arms right now. As is Meyer, as Danielson now into the lead. Danielson just charging the arms, looking over his shoulder, seeing where Meyer is at. And Meyer not able to make a move. Danielson, monumental statement right here for the Ida B. Wells athlete. It'll be close to a sub-15 effort. He's your champion at Nike Portland XC. What an exciting finish right there between 2 Oregon athletes, with Asher Danielson crossing the finish line in 15:01.8. Jack Meyer, nice bounce back effort for him after a tough race at Bob Furman last week. He finishes in 15:03 for a runner-up finish. And how about this? 2 Summit athletes in the top 5, finishing 4th and 5th in Hayden Bowes and Noah Logden Hall. And first place, Franklin. With their athlete across the line, Brendan McEwen in 7th. As the rest of the field starts to pile in now. So after mile 2 is Franklin just ahead of Valor Christian by 3 points. And Valor Christian with Dane Ike finishing in 3rd, that could be the difference maker if they're able to catch up with Franklin. And Valor Christian with their 5 runners through. And as it stands, Valor Christian with the come from behind win in the team standings. So despite Dane Ike finishing 3rd overall, Valor Christian picking up the team title win over Franklin. With 62 points, although that could change here. See currently on your screen, it's 51 points for Valor Christian and Franklin 71. We get a glimpse of the final runners completing this Danner Championship race. As it stands currently, Valor Christian picking up the win with 82 points over Franklin of Oregon with 117 points. Ida B. Wells with Asher Danielson picking up the victory on the individual side. They finished 3rd with 201 points, but a monumental win right there for Asher Danielson of Ida B. Wells after running 14:51 on a flat course at Mook Invite. Comes back just a week later and picks up one of the biggest wins of his high school career at Nike Portland XC, and a tremendous finish at the end between him and Meyer for the last 200-meter stretch. Our final runner of the Danner Championship Boys race goes right through the finish line. Our champion, Asher Danielson of Ida B. Wells, 15:01. Just a slight edge.